Hello everybody, it's Ali from the Justice Journals. Welcome back. And in this video, I am going to be dealing with the big issue that lots of you have had about the new open banking as a result of the government's new FEAR bill, which is the Fraud, Error and Recovery Bill. And if you don't know what that is, then please go along to my playlist here, which you can find by simply going to the top of this YouTube channel and clicking on playlist, and it will come up. That will take you through all of the videos that are related to this FEAR Act in the different situations and circumstances to which it's going to apply to you. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you all access to a free letter. So stay to the end because it's going to be very helpful for an awful lot of you. So as we all know, lots of different organisations like the Department of Work and Pensions, the council, anywhere where public spending is involved and you have been a reciprocant of that, you have been asked for your bank statements, and some of you have been asked for your bank statements that go back months and months and years and years. And there has now been a discovery that I discovered literally only this week and I shared with you, is that the reason why you have been asked for those bank statements is because of the government's new FEAR Act and the open banking. So if you don't know what open banking is, then you are going to have to go and watch this video here. It is in the FEAR playlist. But as a brief synopsis, this is where all of the transactions in your bank are made available to third-party organisations. Now, when I learned of that recently and I shared that all with you and showed you where you can find this in your bank online so you can go and turn it off, lots of you said you do not have an on or an off option. And quite frankly, I think this is very worrying, because if we don't have an on or an off option, it means that we're not controlling that sharing of that information. Somebody else is. And I think that is concerning. Now, I want to be clear that not all banks have done that. Some banks have said, yes, you haven't opted into this. If you change your mind, you can opt into it and there's something that you click. But lots of you have said that lots of your bank accounts just do not have that option at all. And if that's you, like I said, stay till the end of this video because I'm going to be sharing an important letter that you could send to your banks potentially to have that done. Now, if your bank has not informed you of open banking, I'm going to be telling you something that you might not know. So if that's you, hopefully this will help. Open banking seems to be, from what I can gather at the moment from the available information online, only available to people that have online banking activated. So you might have a bank account that you go into your bank and you don't actually have the ability to go online. I don't think this open banking currently is going to affect those people. However, I wouldn't use that as a safeguard to be making sure that you're not being opted into this, okay? Now, some permissions that currently lie with this open banking, which means all of your transactional data can be shared with third-party organisations. Some of the permissions for that live outside of the bank itself. And one of those places is most definitely via the Fraud, Error and Recovery Act. And as we know, that act is very forceful, because if you don't pay your council tax or you don't pay an invoice that HMRC have raised for you or DWP have raised for you or an entity like that, they can literally go into your bank account and take that money. And if you're one of those people that goes, well, they can't get blood out of a stone, if there's no money in there, even if you draw all of your money out and go, well, there's no money in there, then what they can do is go to the next level, which is number one, suspend your driving license. So legally, you won't be able to drive. If you're caught driving, then you're going to get done. So it's literally like being a prisoner in your own home. Or the second option is via the recovery route. And they don't even need to get a court order anymore to have an enforcement order made on you to come to your home and recover items, devices, etc., etc. So as we can see, this is very, very serious. And the worst of it all is that nobody apart from myself has reported on it. No newspapers have printed anything on it. The government themselves, apart from having it on their website, haven't publicised it. It has not been brought up by any MPs, and you definitely have not been informed about it by the organisations that are going to be using it, like DWP, like HMRC, etc., etc. We have to ask ourselves, why is that? Now, because of the agreement that has been put in place with this through something called API, and this is somewhat what some of the FEAR Act is. And if you don't know what API is, it's basically like a tech code that allows the behind the scenes banks and banking organisations, financial institutions, to talk to each other. And when they do that, they share information, your information. Now, what most people think, because this is how it used to be, is that if you just opt out, as in you opt out of open banking, then that data is not going to be shared in the kind of backroom corridor, the API, to these other financial organisations. So to kind of break it down a bit more, what you're going to see when it comes to online banking is balance, transactions, direct debits, a little toggle that will say manage connections or other services, and maybe a list of different apps. That's your view. If you cannot find out or work out how to turn off the open banking, then go to this part here where we've got the manage connections part. That's where you need to be going to, or the other services. Now, this is what you see, and because you think this is what you see, that's all there is. But in actual fact, this is, if you think of it like layers of skin, this is just the top layer of skin. What the API sees is really like the architecture kind of behind all of that. They see a pipeline, a tunnel, a shared language that you don't necessarily understand, and you can't see every single thing that is being shared, a data bridge, the digital wiring between all the different companies, apps, organizations. And this is the worst part. If you opt out, the pipeline is still there. And with the new FEAR bill, that can just be switched back on. So at the moment, the toggle only really stops the current permission from your account, but it doesn't turn off or stop what all the API sees. Now, lots of people in the comments have been going, oh, this is just for budgeting apps. And that's true. Years ago, it would only be budgeting apps and things like that that would really be using APIs and sharing information in this way. Now, with the new FEAR Act, it has automated all of the cross-checking and data matching that the API is currently sharing and has shared. So to be clear, the FEAR Act hasn't really created the access. It's streamlined and connected the sharing of the data between organisations like DWP, HMRC, local authorities, debt enforcement, fraud units, and that's just going to be the start. So API really is making all of this automatic, and once you plug in digital ID with that, there is really not an awful lot anyone can do. Now, to be clear, this is not about becoming fraudulent or escaping fraud or anything like that. And I think a lot of the dislike over this is that you just feel like you have no control over your information, and all your information is now being read by algorithms, systems, people, computers, being stored, mass data harvesting. And when we look at how online banking has exploded, definitely since COVID times, it is a little bit I think a lot of people feel quite vulnerable with this current situation. So what I want to make fundamentally clear to you is by turning off this data sharing, it does not necessarily mean that you're turning off, well, it means that you're not turning off the API. Deleting apps doesn't necessarily remove permissions that have already been given either. And the Fear Act, in all honesty, just makes everything that the API does a lot faster, a lot smoother, and it automates it. It's great for those organisations and powers that be, but not so great for other people. So before I get to the letter part now, this is basically it in a nutshell. Your banking toggle, if you see it, controls the surface level of access. The APIs are already there and they control all of the system underneath within your banking system and all of these other organisations. And really, the Fear Act has just given the powers to open the gate like a floodgate for all of that information to be passed through and then also reach in and take really what it wants in its crudest terms. That's what it is. Now, I've had a good look through all of the comments. I've read lots and lots of the comments and I've created a letter that you can edit. And this is really a letter of request of disclosure and clarity and transparency from your bank. And that's because lots of you are saying there's no button, you can't turn it off, and it's to help you really not be so anxious and to remove some of the panic and also make your banks a little bit more accountable about the functionality that's going on in your account. So I'm going to leave the link to this letter, which you can access through the Justice Journal's website on a blog. You don't need to put in your email address or anything like that. I definitely am not email harvesting or anything like that. But you do have to have a Google account and it will just say, copy this document. You copy the document and you put in your own details. You can take out or edit what you want and then send it to your bank if you feel that's what you want to do. So the letter is really a request for disclosure of online banking data sharing and third-party access, and also how just controls over this, and just to get them to explain it to you. And I think it's pretty much needed because no one's bank has been telling them about this. And PayPal, some of you have been saying to me that PayPal have been doing this since 2018. So interesting. Anyway, that's it from me today, guys. I will leave it down below. Just look for the link. Thank you for sharing out the videos. Thank you for watching them. Thank you for buying the journal as well, guys. Thank you so much. I think I sold 50 the other day, which is like the most I've ever sold ever. So thank you so much. And I'm really pleased it is helping you all feel more empowered about your own health, your disability, your life choices, and everything else. I will see you in the next video.